A lot of people that come to see me here at TrueCare DPC are individuals who have already been through the healthcare system. Many have already received specialty evaluation and been told that everything was normal, multiple trips to the emergency room. Some have seen functional medicine practitioners and been prescribed thousands and thousands of dollars worth of supplements, all kinds of different experiences that ultimately leads them to reach out and talk with me. So what I wanted to do was share with y'all what might be different about the way that I approach patient care and the way I think about providing care for my patients. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Golfran Rivera. I'm a board certified physician assistant, and I practice family medicine and sports medicine here at TrueCare DPC. So I was trained as a PA following the medical model. Okay, what that means is that we look at symptoms, we think about the systems that can produce those symptoms, the organs involved in those systems, and then we develop a differential diagnosis. Now, a differential is a list of all the possible things that could be going on with a particular symptom. Okay, now ideally, our differential is as wide as possible when we come up with it. Okay, because there are multiple things that could present in similar ways. And one of the things is that I tell patients is that as soon as you give me a complaint, no matter what follows, I come up with a differential, and then from there I start asking questions. For example, if you tell me you have a headache, the moment you say you have a headache, I'm thinking about, is it a migraine headache? Is it a tension headache? Is it a sinus headache? Is it a tumor? Is it cancer? Right? Is it meningitis? Now, it's not because I'm looking at you thinking, oh shoot, you got cancer. But it's because my job is, when I hear these symptoms, think about all the different things that it could be, because you can't diagnose what you don't think about. And I think it's a great way to keep things organized and avoid missing too many things, right? Because that's the last thing we want to do as clinicians. Okay, but after we do that, what often happens, and what many of my patients have experienced, at least in the traditional healthcare system, is we rule things out, we rule things in, things aren't making sense, and you end up with normal results for this or for that, for the lab studies, for the imaging. Nothing seems to be making sense. The specialists tell you, well, everything is normal, and now you're frustrated. So what I like to do is I like to have a discussion with my patients. This is a whiteboard that is literally in the exam room. Behind the camera is the seat where my patients sit as I teach them these things. So if you were a patient here, I would have my marker, my whiteboard, and I would write and draw stuff up on the board to help you visualize the things that I'm talking about. What I love to talk about a lot is what I call the 5 pillars of health. Now, these are what I consider to be the 5 pillars of health, not necessarily anything official. If you Google it, some people think there's 3, some people say there's 20, I don't know. These are the ones that I think are fundamental to our health. So these are the things that I talk about, okay? The first that I think about is nutrition. Now, in 2025, when people think about food, they're often talking about calories, carbs, proteins, micronutrients. I explain to my patients, yes, these are important, but in my experience, rarely is it an issue with a particular micronutrient that's the problem. What I think about is our relationship with food, okay? What is food to us? Is it just calories, proteins, and I have to make sure that I get enough of this and enough of that? Are we worried about weight when we consume food? Is that's always on our mind? Is, will this make me fat? Or, am I going to be able to lose weight when I use this, right? Our relationship with food is so essential, and it's a bigger reflection of things going on in the brain that could be impacting our health. Yes, I care about the particular foods that you're eating. All of my patients have to do a 5-day food log when they meet me for the first time. And if there are changes of symptom, we're going to do a food log. But you get what I'm saying. Nutrition isn't just about the specific foods we're eating, okay? It's about our relationship with food as well, and the behavior surrounding food. The next thing is movement, okay? For this, what I'm thinking about is whether or not we're living an active lifestyle. Yes, are you exercising? What kind of exercises do you do? At what intensity? But also, are we relatively active outside of the exercise routine, right? Because if we're spending a lot of time sitting down, that could cause problems with back pain, that could cause problems with motility, with mobility, with energy, right? So I'm going to ask these questions to see if in any way, shape, or form, this is affecting your well-being. Many times, especially if we're dealing with chronic diseases, there's not enough movement going on. And the first that I think about is nutrition. Now, in 2025, when people think about food, they're often talking about calories, carbs, proteins, micronutrients. I explain to my patients, yes, these are important, but in my experience, rarely is it an issue with a particular micronutrient that's the problem. What I think about is our relationship with food, okay? What is food to us? Is it just calories, proteins, and I have to make sure that I get enough of this and enough of that? Are we worried about weight when we consume food? Is that's always on our mind? Is, will this make me fat? Or, am I going to be able to lose weight when I use this, right? Our relationship with food is so essential, and it's a bigger reflection of things going on in the brain that could be impacting our health. Yes, I care about the particular foods that you're eating. All of my patients have to do a 5-day food log when they meet me for the first time. And if there are changes of symptom, we're going to do a food log. But you get what I'm saying. Nutrition isn't just about the specific foods we're eating, okay? It's about our relationship with food as well and the behavior surrounding food. The next thing is movement, okay? For this, what I'm thinking, you're a chronic pain patient, that's very frustrating. But as a chronic pain patient myself, I can tell you that being active and having movement in your life is essential for our well-being. The third thing is sleep. And I always put sleep in its own category because you could be doing everything right with the way you're eating and the way you're being active, but if you're not getting enough sleep, you're fighting an uphill battle. Sleep helps us recover from the day. It's the brain's opportunity to process all the information that's coming our way. Physical recovery and healing of tissue in the body is taking place in sleep. And so if you find that you're never getting enough sleep, or the quality of your sleep or the duration of your sleep just isn't quite what it needs to be, this is absolutely its very own target, okay? Next thing is relationships. This one I think surprises a lot of people. But for me, I am convinced that human beings do not live in a vacuum, okay? We live in a society, and then we all have communities. Now, those communities may be large, they may be small, but the nature of that community affects our well-being. Feeling isolated from other human beings affects our well-being. Feeling very connected positively affects, right? The relationships we have can influence our nutrition, can influence our movements, our sleep activity, right? Certain relationships lend themselves to eating a particular way, and versus others that lend themselves to eating a different way, right? Certain relationships lend themselves to us laying around all day, and others help us to be more active, right? Relationships, fundamental. The other thing too is that relationships play a massive role in our mental health, right? Tensions with loved ones, concerns about our children, family members, things like that. They can absolutely activate the HPA axis, the stress response in the body. And if we find ourselves frequently in difficult relationships, and difficult situations, we might actually be constantly in and out of that fight or flight state and physically negatively affect our bodies. So relationships matter, and we talk about them here at TrueCare DPC. Lastly is spirituality. So for me, spirituality is not about religion. It's really about your sense of self, your identity, how you relate to the universe and the creator, okay? So not many of my patients should have different kinds of perspectives and different kinds of religious backgrounds. So it's not about that, but who you are as a person, how you see yourself, and what place you see for yourself in the universe. Whether or not there is a creator for you and one who cares about you, that affects your well-being, right? So we talk about spirituality here, again, not even with people that we have the same religious views, but we are human and our identities matter, our sense of purpose matter, and our place in the universe matters. What I like to do with patients, especially when they feel stuck, is we write this out and we go through it again. And we try to see, okay, where are we with these things? Because if we have an X here, right, if we're doing well here, these become areas where we need to investigate further, either through discussion, through food logs. Like I said, everybody does a food log, through journaling, through self-reflection. I like to give an introspective questionnaire to patients so that they can investigate their own sense of self and their past relationships, right? But again, the point of this is that, yes, as a medical person, tracking signs, symptoms, physical exam, diagnostic studies, all that jazz. Got it. But this approach, the 5 pillars of health, give me a lens that, for me, in my opinion, provides a holistic approach to what it takes to be healthy. Basically, if these pillars are lacking, we may be seeing evidence of those things that could be contributing. Now, sometimes it's a deficiency in these things that is causing the problem. Other times, it's contributing or worsening a problem, right? So if you find yourself, if as I share these things, this resonates with you and you wonder if maybe this is the kind of talk you need to have, look, if you can have this with your medical practitioner, awesome, have at it. But if you haven't been able to find somebody, I would love for you to reach out to me. I always offer free consults so we can discuss your case, whether or not I think I can help you. And I would love to set that up with you and maybe even have you sign up as a patient over here at TrueCare DPC. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I hope you like, comment, and share this video. Help me get the word out what we're doing here in Fayetteville.